Boston has some of the best public schools in Massachusetts and some of the worst. The catch? You don't get to choose which one you land in. Most people assume that if you buy a home near a good school, your child automatically gets a seat there. But Boston doesn't work that way. There are no traditional school districts, just a lottery system that decides where your child goes, even if you live right across the street from a school. That means that families spend 7 figures thinking they're buying into a good district, only to find out that that district doesn't exist. And when that realization hits after you've closed on a home, it can be a very expensive mistake that will completely change your plans for where you live, how you commute, or even whether you stay in the city at all. I'm Kimberlee Meserve, and I've helped hundreds of families buy in the city and the surrounding suburbs, and honestly, the school system is one of the most misunderstood and most important parts of making that decision. So today we're breaking down exactly how Boston's school system really works, what smart families do differently, and the questions that you need to ask before you start your home search. Here's what makes Boston different. There are no traditional school districts. You can't just move into a certain street and know that your child will attend the school at the end of the block. Instead, Boston uses what's called a home-based assignment system. Your address determines which schools you're eligible for, but it doesn't guarantee you a seat at any of them. Here's how it works. Families submit a list of schools they want, ranking them in order of preference. Then the city runs a lottery that takes into account your choices, your proximity to each school, whether you have siblings already enrolled, and how many seats are available. Walk zone priority does give you a better chance if you live within a certain distance of a school, but even then that's not a guarantee. Sibling priority means that if you already have a child at that school, younger siblings get moved up in the queue. But if you're new to the lottery system, you're at the mercy of the lottery. Assignments are processed in rounds. Some families get their first choice, others get their 5th choice. And some don't get any of their picks and are placed at a school that they never even ranked. Compare that to suburbs like Newton or Arlington, where your address equals your school. You buy the house, you know exactly where your kids are going to school. It's predictable and it's reliable. In Boston, not so much. There have been discussions about future changes to the process, but nothing has been determined yet. So if buying near a good school doesn't guarantee access, well then how do families actually plan for this? A lot of buyers move to Boston thinking the same rules apply here as everywhere else. Find a good school district, buy a home nearby, and you're set. But that strategy doesn't work here because there is no district. The strategy here isn't where you buy, it's understanding how to work the system and having a backup plan. Let's talk about how this plays out in different neighborhoods. West Roxbury and Roslindale are popular with families because they tend to have more access to strong charter and pilot schools. Families here often go with a charter school application already submitted as their safety net. Jamaica Plain and Charlestown have well-regarded community schools as well, with really active parent involvement, but lottery outcomes can still be unpredictable. You might live 2 blocks from a great school and not get in. South Boston has a mix of improving BPS schools, but a lot of families here also lean on private or parochial options as backups. And that's really the theme across the city. Families who do well in Boston are the ones who plan ahead. They tour schools before they even start house hunting. They apply to charters. They stay flexible. They don't assume anything. Because if you're counting on one specific school and you don't get in, your entire plan can fall apart. And then by that point, you've already bought the house. If you're planning a move to Boston or the surrounding area, make sure to grab my free Boston relocation guide. It breaks down neighborhoods, commutes, housing costs, and what to expect when relocating to the Boston area, whether you're staying in the city or considering the suburbs. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now or click the link below in the description. Okay, so we've established that the lottery system is unpredictable, but Boston also has more school options than most cities, and understanding the differences can actually give you an advantage here. So let's break them down. You have traditional BPS schools. Those are your standard public schools. They're assigned through the lottery system. Quality varies widely. Some are excellent, others struggle, and where you land depends on your luck and strategy. Charter schools operate independently from BPS, but are still publicly funded and free to attend. They run their own citywide lottery, so you have to apply separately. Many charter schools have strong performance metrics and longer school days, but they also tend to have wait lists. Pilot schools are semi-autonomous schools within BPS. They have more flexibility in curriculum and staffing. smaller class sizes, and unique programming. Think of them as a middle ground between a traditional public and a charter. Schools like Fenway High School and Boston Teachers Union are examples. Exam schools, and this is where Boston really stands out. Some are the most prestigious public schools in the country. Boston Latin School, Boston Latin Academy, and the O'Brien serve grades 7 through 12, and admission is based on test scores and grades. Boston Latin School in particular is consistently ranked as one of the top public high schools in the nation, and it's a top feeder school for Harvard, MIT, and other elite colleges. We're talking about a free public education that rivals the best private schools in terms of college placement and academic rigor. Families across the city compete intensely for these spots. Getting into an exam school, especially Boston Latin, can completely change the trajectory of a child's education, and it's available to any Boston resident who qualifies. So depending on your goals, whether it's academics, diversity, proximity, or cost, you do have a lot of options, but you have to know that they exist and how to access them. And here's the thing, this is actually where Boston can win for the right kind of family. Suburbs give you predictability, but Boston gives you choice and access to schools that are genuinely world-class if you know how to navigate the system. So what does a smart school strategy actually look like in Boston? Well, first, you really want to start early. School applications open in January for the following fall. That means that if you're buying a home in the spring or summer, you need to already be thinking about schools for the next year. Tour those schools, talk to other parents, understand what your options are before you make an offer on a property. Second, balance school priorities within lifestyle goals. Yes, schools matter, but so does your commute, your sense of community, and whether you can actually afford the neighborhood that you're targeting. Sometimes the perfect school isn't worth an extra hour of commuting every single day or stretching your budget to the breaking point. Third, have a backup plan. Apply to charter schools, look at pilot schools, know where the strong parochial or private options are and what they cost. Because if the lottery doesn't go your way, you need to know what's next, not scramble to figure it out in August. Fourth, consider renting first. I know that sounds counterintuitive for a real estate agent to say, but hear me out. A lot of families move to Boston, rent for a year, go through the school assignment process, and then buy once they actually know where their kid is going to go to school. It's a way to reduce risk and make a more informed decision. And finally, talk to the locals who have successfully navigated the system. There are families who've made Boston schools work beautifully, and they know which schools are rising, which lotteries are easier to win, and how to position their applications for best outcome. One more thing to keep in mind. This all impacts real estate value. Homes in areas with strong school outcomes, whether BPS, charter, or exam schools, tend to hold value better. But you have to look beyond reputation and understand the actual access. So here's the bottom line. Buying for schools in Boston isn't about geography, it's about strategy. You're not buying into a district, you're buying into a system that requires planning, flexibility, and realistic expectations. The right move depends on your values. Do you want walkability, diversity, and access to unique school options? Or do you want predictability, traditional district access, and a straightforward path from kindergarten through high school? Both are valid, and honestly, a lot of Boston families evolve over time. Many start in the city when their kids are young, then transition to the suburbs for middle or high school. And both paths can make sense depending on what you prioritize. The key is going in with your eyes wide open, not assuming Boston works like everywhere else, and not making a 7-figure decision based on outdated assumptions. If you're planning a move to Boston and want help navigating this decision, book a call with us. We'll walk you through your specific situation, where you're thinking of living, what your school priorities are, and how to create a strategy that actually works for your family. You can book a call using the information in my description below. And if you want to see where families are choosing to live once they understand all of this, watch my video called Family Living in Boston, the Top 15 Neighborhoods. It breaks down the exact areas that balance lifestyle, value, and schools better than anywhere else in the city and the suburbs.